If you've got a piece of furniture at home that you would like to update with a little bit of paint, but you've got no idea where to start, then this video is for you. I'm going to take you through my furniture painting process, telling you what steps to take and why with no fancy tools. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Katie. I am the K in Salvaged by K Scott. I'm a full-time furniture painter and I've been running my very own, very successful furniture flipping business right here out of my home for the past 5 years. For a ton more furniture flipping tips, tricks, and inspiration, make sure that you tap that subscribe button and have the bell notification turn on so that you never miss out on a brand new flip. This little accent table is the piece I'm going to be working on with you guys today, and my biggest piece of advice to anyone that is brand new to furniture painting is to start small and just keep it simple. I like to start off every furniture flip with a really good cleaning. Today I'm just using some Dawn dish soap, but really any type of cleaner that you have or that you like that has a good degreasing factor in it is going to do you the best service here. We want to remove any obvious cobwebs or dust that is on the piece, but we also want to clean away any grease from furniture polishes over the years or fingerprints around knobs. That stuff is really going to repel a new painted finish, so it's gotta go. Once your piece is nice and clean, it is important to go back with some clean, clear water and rinse away any soap residue. Once I was finished cleaning, I let my table dry really well for a few hours, and then I moved it out onto the back deck because it's a really nice day, and my next step is sanding, which is going to make a little bit of a mess. I'm starting off with a foam sanding pad. This is an old one that doesn't have any real grit left on it. So I just wrapped a piece of 80 grit coarse sandpaper around it. And I'm gonna use this to remove any of this old flaking finish off of my table. Each piece is gonna be a little bit different. If the piece that you're working on has a finish on it that is still intact and not loose or flaking up, you don't need to do this really coarse 80 grit sand. You can get away just with a light scuff sand. In my case, this needs to be removed because if I go ahead and apply my new finish on top of this failing finish, my new finish is going to fail as well. The base of this table is in much better condition finish-wise. It is not flaking or peeling off at all. So I switched out my sandpaper to a much softer 220 grit, and I'm just lightly scuffing up the surface. I don't need to remove the previous finish. I just want to scratch it up a little bit and give my paint something good to hold on to. I did also go back over that top surface with the softer 220 grit sandpaper just to smooth out any harsh scratch marks that may be left behind by that 80 grit that I started with. Once I was all done with my sanding, I came back with just a clean damp rag and wiped away any dust that was left behind. The next step in my painting process is always primer. I'm going to be using my all-time favorite Zinsser Bin shellac base primer. This primer serves a couple of different important purposes. One, the shellac in it is going to block in any wood tannins or the naturally occurring oils in the wood and the wood stain on this piece. Those oils tend to bleed up through water-based paint finishes or top coats and leave really ugly stain marks in your new finish. The Bin shellac base primer will prevent that from happening. It's also going to give me a nice, smooth, unified surface between the bare wood top that I now have and the existing finish on the base. That's going to make sure that my paint is sitting the same and absorbing the same amount into those two different substrates. If I didn't have this primer on the top and the bottom, the paint would absorb differently into that bare wood top as opposed to sitting on top of the previous finish, and you'd be able to see the difference. This primer is messy and stinky, so I like to line my paint tray with a little bit of tin foil. You also need to make sure that you mix this product very well. The shellac tends to separate out of it if it's sitting in the can for a while. And I wear gloves and use it outside or in a very well ventilated area. It does have a strong odor. My favorite way to apply this is with a 4-inch microfiber roller. You can by all means use a foam roller or a cheap disposable brush. I wouldn't use a good high quality brush with this stuff because it's really hard to clean up. So I like to use something that I can use once and toss when I'm done. Using my roller, I'm going to apply a coat evenly over the entire table. This is a very thin, runny product, so you do want to watch for drips. I usually apply 2 coats of this primer to my pieces. That's usually enough to block in any wood tannin bleed through situations and make sure that everything is nice and smooth. It dries really fast. You only need maybe 15 or 20 minutes between coats. Just make sure that you wrap up your roller and any primer that is left in your paint tray in a plastic grocery bag so it doesn't dry out. My primer is dry, so I moved my table back inside and I'm just gonna give it a really light smoothing sand with some very fine sandpaper. This is a 400 grit, just to smooth out any of that bumpy roller texture that can happen sometimes. Now that we've got all of that prep work out of the way, it is time to add some color to this piece. I chose to use Melange paint on this project, which is an artisan style mineral paint, and I'm going to be using the color Sonora Rose. Melange is a brand new, small, veteran-owned business out of Sugar Land, Texas. They have created this beautiful, luxurious, buttery paint specifically made for furniture applications like this. Their hand-poured paint comes in 4 different size, eco-friendly glass jars, and their palette is incredible. They have so many colors and are adding new ones all the time. I'm applying my paint today with a Zebra fan brush. This is a really great, inexpensive, all-purpose brush for furniture. I like to apply my paint in light, thin coats as opposed to trying to get full coverage in the first go. This is really going to help prevent brush strokes or building up any texture if you're going for a really smooth, sleek finish. I am personally a very messy brusher. My technique is always just to get the paint on there and then I come back with a very light hand and smooth out all of the brush strokes in the same direction. This paint has incredible coverage on the first coat, but depending on the paint that you're using, you may notice that it's very splotchy or patchy looking, and that is completely normal. Remember, light, thin coats, you want to build your coverage gradually so that you're avoiding creating any texture or brush strokes. A patchy finish will fill itself in with the second or third coat of paint. Once I was finished with my first coat, I closed up my jar of paint and tucked my brush into a little plastic baggie to keep it fresh while I'm waiting for this to dry. My first coat is dry and you can definitely see it is streaky and patchy. Totally normal. Like I said, don't freak out. This is all going to fill in with your second coat. And if it doesn't fill in with your second coat, it's no big deal to go back for a third. Like I said, Melange is a brand new small family owned business, and Morgan, the creator of this paint line, has been working really hard to find an efficient and economical way to start shipping up to Canada, which all of us Canadians know can be ridiculously expensive. And she just may have a Canadian retailer in line any day now. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. As soon as there is a Canadian retailer set up and ready, I will pin that link in the comment section of this video. Or if you want to shop now, whether you're in Canada or the US, you can use code SALVAGED10 to save 10% on your order at melangepaints.com. The current cost to ship to Canada is somewhere between $20 and $30 depending on what you order. US orders have a $10 flat fee or free shipping on orders over $75. Once you're finished painting, if you notice that you have a slight amount of brush strokes or texture that you're not happy with, you can always go back over your paint again with a super soft fine grit sandpaper like a 320 or 400 grit just to smooth things out. Then we are ready to seal everything up and give it a few good coats of protection. I'm going to be using my all-time favorite Varathane Diamond Wood Finish in a satin sheen. This is a very user-friendly, water-based poly top coat. I like to pour a little bit out into a separate container and mix in a tiny bit of my paint to tint my top coat. Most furniture paints on the markets are matte and porous. That really helps them stick to furniture pieces, but it also means that they do need some additional top coat protection. That's going to seal in that matte porous paint, make it wipeable, and protect it from finger marks and just general wear and tear. When you're brushing on a liquid top coat like this, you're going to want to work in small sections. Again, I like to get it on really quickly and then come back and smooth it over with a very light hand, all in one direction. After that, don't touch it. If you notice that you've got a bare patch or you're not liking the look of it, just leave it alone, let it dry, don't fuss with it. If there's something wrong, we'll fix it later. This specific top coat needs 1 to 2 hours to dry between coats. I left this for about an hour and a half, and then I came back again with my super fine grit sandpaper just to smooth it out. This is the time, if you have a drip or an area that you're not really in love with, you can use this super fine sandpaper to buff that out a little bit. Again, you want to do that when the top coat is dry, not when it's wet, or you'll just make a mess. Just like with the paint, the second coat is really going to make the difference here, and we're going to use this to fill in any patchy areas, areas that we missed, areas that we weren't really in love with on the first pass, and give everything a really beautiful unified satin sheen. One more quick nugget of advice here is something that seems so simple, but it is really easy to overlook. There are so many different paints and paint products out on the market right now, and they all vary slightly. It's really important to take the time to research the products that you're using and just read the label. They're going to tell you everything that you need to know to apply to your specific project, from application to drying times, curing times, recommended temperatures, all of that stuff is right on the label. Once my second coat of top coat was dry, I was really happy with the finish that I had. So I tucked the drawer back in, attached a new knob, and this is what our finished piece looks like. I know that getting started on your very first furniture painting project can be really intimidating, but I hope that this video gave you lots of guidance and is going to get you started in a not so scary way. Again, please make sure that you are subscribed to the channel before you go. I'm going to leave a few more videos here that I think you might like, and I will catch you guys next time.